here, and today I want to share with you how I've been preparing for our school year. We're a homeschool family and we use a Charlotte Mason philosophy to homeschool, and this year my daughter is in first grade and we are doing the CMEC programs. So I want to share with you exactly how I'm prepping for our school year. So here are the things that I'm doing. I have a checklist that I've been going off of for the past several weeks, and I just want to share with you what those items are, and then I have a few other videos on my schedule, how I organize my household tasks and all of that later on. But today I just want to share with you my checklist for school year prep. So to begin, I first selected the curriculum that I wanted to use, and because we follow a Charlotte Mason philosophy, I didn't really select a curriculum necessarily. I just chose the program guide, which is the CMEC. It's $300 a year, and I did purchase that membership, and it just is a wealth of information. So I have a video on that and why we selected the CMEC, so I'll link that in the description. But the first thing I did was select my curriculum or my program. After that, I read through the program guides and I looked at I just kind of made a list of books that I needed to purchase. So after I selected the program, I purchased all of my materials. So that was my next step, and that took quite a bit of time. In that, I also purchased the books we needed, and I purchased the supplies. So brush drawing supplies, notebooks and journals, chalk for our chalk work. So lots of different things that went into that. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to share with you that I did for our handicrafts section of our school year, and I will share a video on that later. So after I selected the supplies and the books that I was going to be using, I went through, and when the books arrived, I just took them and I skimmed through them. So I pre-read almost all of the books that we'll be using this year. There's a little basket behind me, and that's pretty much all of our books other than historical supplements. So this, I just marked term 1 reading and then term 2 reading, and some of the books we're not reading the whole book this year, so I marked term 3 reading, and then we'll pick up next year. So I just took little post-it tabs, and I put a marker in every single book. That way I know where's term 1 reading, where's term 2 reading, and so on. So like I said, I spent a lot of time pre-reading all of the books, and in my notebooks, I have a notebook here that I've been working off of, and then I have a logbook as well. Sorry, it's loud. I have with my dog, my children. He's underneath my feet now, but so my logbook is where I recorded a lot of my pre-reading notes. So any themes I wanted to discuss with my daughter potentially when she was doing the reading with me, I wrote down, and any quotes that I wanted to save, I wrote down in my pre-reading section of my logbook. And then after I did all of that, I pre-read all of the books, I started to go through each curriculum. So I looked through the math curriculum, the writing curriculum, the solfege, the piano curriculum. We're using Kerwin music this year. I had to go through all of those programs and just kind of familiarize myself with them. Now, each week I will go through and look at all of the material for the week, and I'll actually sit down in my lesson plan book and write out what we'll be doing. But it's a very, very minimal prep because I already selected all of the programs. I already pre-read the books we're going to be reading. So that is my goal with all of this, spending weeks and weeks preparing so that I don't have to worry about doing a lot of work during the week, and I can just have fun with our readings and our narrations and all of our learning during the year. So after I prepared that, I got my logbook set up. So this is my logbook. It's just a notebook with lined paper. There's about 200 pages in it, and I separated it out with several different sections. And I have a video separate about the logbook, so I'm not going to talk about it right now, but that was my next step, was really just preparing the logbook after I did all of my pre-reading. So getting all those lines drawn and organized and all of that goodness. So next came preparing my timetable, and this is probably what took the most time. I wrote out my timetable in Excel or Google Sheets, and I basically just sat down and I have a video about my timetable. It's a full video where I break down each part of the timetable, which is just essentially our schedule. And I broke down the timetable for you in that video, so I'm not going to do that in this video, but that was my next task, was to really create our schedule and make sure that I'm hitting all those points of like math 5 times a week, reading 4 times a week, and then in the afternoons, poetry, all of that stuff. I needed to organize that, and it took a long time. So I hope that my video on that will be helpful to you. The next thing I did after I prepared my timetable was start preparing all of our book lists and our baking handicrafts materials and our baking handicrafts sheet that I planned out a whole course to teach my daughter how to bake. I'm trying to look for it here. Here it is. So in Excel, I just wrote out by term, 3 10-week terms, I just wrote out the things that I wanted her to learn in that little baking course that I made for her. We'll be doing that on Thursdays, I believe. So I set up all of my materials, got everything organized. I put our handicraft materials in separate bins so that I could just pull them out during the week, depending on what day we're working on that handicraft. We're doing raffia work, brush drawing, clay work, all the good things. So I did that, and then the very last thing that I need to do is, and I haven't done it yet, is my weekly lesson plan for week 1. Now, when I was teaching public school, we focused on planning out the whole year. We had this big scope and sequence, and scope and sequences are great, it's important. But I would plan out my lessons weeks and weeks in advance. We would go slower on a certain subject, and I would have to kind of recalculate all of my plans. So that's why the logbook is so wonderful. I'm logging and tracking everything I'm doing each week, just a little documentation, and then I look at the logbook to create my weekly lesson plan. So it's wonderful. I highly recommend it. That is pretty much all I have left to do. I did want to look over some art instruction videos that the CMEC prepared for us, which I am so thankful for. But yeah, that is my checklist for preparing for the school year. This is a great checklist if you have a school-age child. If you have a preschooler or a child that's younger, I wouldn't recommend all of this prep work because it's just not as necessary. But the CMEC does have a kindergarten program, or we did use General Classical Preschool with my daughter for 2 years, and I absolutely love that program, highly recommend. So I'll put a link to those reviews in the description. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great school year. Take care.